What happens when you insult the most untouchable name in college football? Not behind closed doors, not in some offhand tweet, but live on national television? You don't just spark controversy, you light yourself on fire in front of millions. That's exactly what Dillon Gabriel did, and he might never recover from it. Because this wasn't just an athlete misspeaking, it was a career-defining moment, broadcasted in HD, where one sentence detonated into full-blown internet war. You think rival teams are dangerous? Wait till you meet Shedeur's fanbase. This is the story of how Dillon Gabriel tried to make a statement and became one. It was supposed to be just another sideline interview. Nothing crazy, nothing viral. Just a quick check-in with Dillon Gabriel, the quarterback trying to make his mark and hold down a roster spot. Mid-game, emotion steady, cameras rolling, and then, boom. The moment dropped like a pin in a packed stadium. Dillon Gabriel looked straight into the mic and casually said, "There are entertainers and there are competitors, and my job is to compete." That was it. No shouting, no anger, just cool confidence with a side of what sounded a lot like shade. And instantly, everyone watching had the same reaction. Wait, was that a shot at Shedeur Sanders? He didn't say Shedeur's name, but he might as well have. Because when someone drops the word entertainer in college football right now, there's only one person the world thinks of. The man with the wristwatch flex, the Instagram swagger, the highlight reels that make SportsCenter salivate, Shedeur. So now, you've got a live mic, a bold sentence, millions watching, and everyone drawing one conclusion. Dillon Gabriel didn't just make a comment. He lit a match in a room full of gas. And the craziest part? It wasn't even said with venom. There was no yelling, no rant. It was said in that dangerous tone, the quiet, direct kind, where every word lands with full weight. By the time he left the interview spot, the internet was already in motion, and Dillon didn't even know it yet. But that clip, that sentence, that moment, it just became the headline of his entire week, maybe even his career. And unfortunately for him, that was just the beginning. The clip hit the internet like a lightning bolt to dry grass. Within seconds, it was everywhere. Group chats, fan accounts, sports blogs, meme pages. The quote didn't need an official upload. It was screen recorded, clipped, and chopped up faster than Dillon Gabriel could finish a Gatorade on the sideline. X, went full FBI mode. Shedeur fans wasted no time decoding every syllable of Dillon's sentence, cross-referencing tone, body language, interview history, and even his facial expression. This wasn't a reaction, it was a full-blown investigation. And then came the memes. Oh, the memes! Stills of Dillon's face with captions like, "This you?" Flooded timelines. One viral post showed Shedeur checking his watch with the caption, "Entertainer? Yeah, entertaining your downfall." Another showed Dillon under a headline that read, "Man who trash-talked wrong player, now living in witness protection." In the digital arena, Dillon didn't just lose the benefit of the doubt, he became content. It didn't matter what he meant anymore. The internet had made up its mind. Because here's the deal. Once a narrative starts rolling online, you don't control it. Attempts to clarify only fuel the fire. And silence? That's even worse. It leaves room for everyone else to write your story for you. Dillon Gabriel thought he was just answering a question. Instead, he handed the internet a new storyline. And unfortunately for him, they didn't cast him as the hero. And what happened next? Let's just say the Sanders effect doesn't take long to kick in. Here's the part Dillon Gabriel didn't account for. You don't test the Sanders brand. Not now, not ever. See, Shedeur Sanders isn't just another college quarterback. He's a walking highlight reel with an endorsement portfolio. He's not playing in the culture, he is the culture. His name brings out sold-out stadiums, primetime cameras, sneaker deals, and enough buzz to drown out an entire media cycle. When he posts a smirk on Instagram, Fort Knox-level fan wars break out underneath. When he flexes a watch, sideline reporters have opinions. His brand is different. It's dangerous to mess with because it doesn't operate like anyone else's. And yet, Dillon Gabriel lobbed a casual insult straight into that orbit. Now, for context, this isn't the first time someone's tried. Coaches, they've made slick pregame comments. Players, they've tried clowning Colorado for media hype, attention, and all things Deion related. Sports analysts have danced on the line too. But guess what all of those people have in common? They all walked it back. Apology tweets, podcast clarifications, post-game interviews filled with, "That's not what I really meant." Because Shedeur isn't just protected by fans, he's got a multimedia army ready to jump at the first hint of disrespect. And it doesn't even require a response from him. His silence is weaponized. It allows the culture, the memes, the algorithm, the watch-waving crowds to handle everything on his behalf. That's the real problem Dillon never saw coming. He thought it was just a sentence. But when that sentence floats anywhere near the name Sanders, it becomes a problem. Because this isn't just any trash talk. This is poking the biggest bear in college football with a mic and cameras rolling. And Dillon had no backup plan for what happened next. By the time Dillon Gabriel realized the internet was dragging him like a broken tackling dummy, it was too late. The clip was everywhere. The memes were multiplying, and his entire reputation was starting to boil down to 5 words. There are entertainers and competitors. So, what does he do? Classic move. He goes into damage control mode. Just one day after the interview aired, Dillon popped up in a press conference trying to walk it all back. Calm voice, glazed over eyes, hands gripping the mic a little tighter than before. He said it was a misunderstanding, that he wasn't taking a shot at Shedeur. He was referring to the media. You know, the sideline reporters. Slick move. If it had been 2005, but this is the internet, and you don't get to explain your way out of a viral moment. Not when everyone's already remixed your quote into TikToks, fantasy football names, and AI voiceover diss tracks. By the time Dillon brought up context, the culture had already decided what the context was. To fans, this wasn't about the media. This was about calling Shedeur an entertainer, brushing off everything he's accomplished with a passive-aggressive dig. And worse, Dillon's clarification wasn't just ignored. It made things worse. Now people were saying he was doubling down, backpedaling, fumbling his words and his image. Coaches had to field it. Teammates had to defend it. NFL scouts watching from home, they were taking notes, and not the kind you want on your draft profile. Let's be real. If you're trying to prove you're a leader, this ain't how you do it. You don't stoke the fire, then try to play firefighter after the blaze has already burned the house down. And while Dillon was spinning in circles trying to clean up the mess, Shedeur hadn't even said a word. And that leads us straight into the most powerful move of all, Shedeur's silence. While Dillon Gabriel scrambled to explain himself, drop clarifications, and beg context for mercy like it was a lifeline, Shedeur Sanders played the most dangerous card in the PR game. Silence. Not a tweet, not an interview quote, not even a petty sub-post, just nothing. And that made it so much worse for Dillon. Because silence from someone like Shedeur isn't quiet, it's calculated. His brand is built around presence, controlling the moment without forcing it. And the wildest part? While Dillon was spiraling in front of cameras, Shedeur posted nothing but an Instagram story. A single picture. Slight smirk. That watch glinting again. No words. But that image alone, it said everything fans needed it to say. The message was clear. I saw it, and I'm not even bothered. And that silence became the rally cry. It let the internet take over. It let the memes fly uninterrupted. It allowed the fans to do what Shedeur didn't even have to. Turn Dillon Gabriel into a viral punching bag. Because when you're the star, you don't clap back, you just raise your eyebrows. and let the timeline do the rest. And while that moment pushed Shedeur's fan base into overdrive, Dillon's quote wasn't just fading, it was fossilizing. Here's the thing about going viral for the wrong reason: it doesn't go away, ever. Every time Dillon Gabriel steps onto a field now, there's a shadow attached to his jersey. Doesn't matter how many completions he throws. The fans are tracking stats. They're looking for drama. A viral cautionary tale with a microphone. And what's wild? This isn't even the end of it. Because after going viral, there's only one direction left to fall. Straight into damage control mode. And that's our next phase, where Dillon tries to survive the internet with a smile. So what do you do when you've become the face of a bad decision? You pivot. You apologize. You activate the PR team like it's a DEFCON alert. And that's exactly where Dillon Gabriel landed. His management team likely went into full survival mode. Emergency meetings, crisis consultants, social media audits, drafting apologies like their lives depended on it. Soon, the digital cleanup began. Cue the "it was taken out of context" tweets. Cue the sports journalists offering soft spin articles like "was Dillon misunderstood?" Cue the vague Instagram post with muted colors, deep thoughts, and way too many ellipses. A viral cautionary tale with a microphone. And what's wild? This isn't even the end of it. Because after going viral, there's only one direction left to fall. Straight into damage control mode. And that's our next phase, where Dillon tries to survive the internet with a smile. So what do you do when you've become the face of a bad decision? You pivot. You apologize. You activate the PR team like it's a DEFCON alert. And that's exactly where Dillon Gabriel landed. His management team likely went into full survival mode. Emergency meetings, crisis consultants, social media audits, drafting apologies like their lives depended on it. Soon, the digital cleanup began. Cue the "it was taken out of context" tweets. Cue the sports journalists offering soft spin articles like "was Dillon misunderstood?" Cue the vague Instagram post with muted colors, deep thoughts, and way too many ellipses. And just when you thought it couldn't get more choreographed, rulers started flying about appearances at charity events, community service-style PR chess, a photo with puppies, a food drive, maybe even a youth camp called "Leaders Don't Trash Talk." It's become textbook. When an athlete fumbles their image off the field, the brand playbook comes next. But here's the kicker. None of it hits harder than the silence that started this whole spiral. Because while Dillon is giving rehearsed interviews and learning not to say "entertainer" anything ever again, Shedeur Sanders is doing what actually matters: winning. He's throwing dimes, stacking yardage, and smiling through pre-game walkthroughs like none of this ever even touched him. Shedeur didn't bite, didn't swing back, because he didn't need to. The internet did the dragging, and the stats did the flexing. All while Dillon tried to look composed, with a social media team and 1,000 crisis hashtags holding him up behind the scenes. This isn't growth, this is recovery. But by now, the damage is more than done. Because Dillon Gabriel didn't just make a comment, he made himself the story. And that brings us to the final chapter. What do you do when your worst moment overshadows your entire career? Let's bring it home. When people look back at Dillon Gabriel's career, they won't just see touchdowns, stats, or combine numbers. They'll remember the moment he picked a fight with a superstar and lost without ever playing a single snap against him. The insult? Mild. The backlash? Brutal. The damage? Permanent. Because this wasn't just football beef. This was internet culture meeting real-world consequences. One sentence from Dillon Gabriel accidentally became a case study in exactly what not to say when you're the other guy in the room. Shedeur didn't clap back, didn't raise his voice, didn't lift a finger, and yet he won the moment, the narrative, and the internet, all with a smirk and some silence. That's when you know it wasn't a debate. It was a domination. Dillon thought he was being bold. What he was short-sighted. Because you don't compare yourself to Shedeur Sanders unless you're ready to fully own every word, every mic, every frame of footage, every quote that gets turned into 10,000 TikToks, And the biggest irony? Dillon wanted visibility, impact, a headline moment. Well, he got it. Just not the version he can put on a resume. He could win a game next week, and someone will still DM him. Remember when you threw shade at the Sun? Because that's what this really was. Dillon Gabriel didn't just speak his mind. He went head-to-head with the gravity of college football's biggest name and ended up getting pulled apart by the current. And from now on, when another player feels bold enough to take a shot, coaches won't show film. They'll show this: the legacy you don't want, the mean thread you can't delete, the moment you'll never outplay.